Tired of long waits and rushed care at the ER and urgent care clinic? Next time, stay home and let Dispatch Health bring the power of the hospital to you.
I call Dispatch Health. A care team of medical professionals actually come to your house.
They're the same caliber of people that you would see if you were at a hospital or an urgent care.
Dispatch Health can treat most non-life-threatening emergencies.
They can do the x-rays, they can do stitches,
urinary tract infections, blood test, urinalysis, ultrasound.
It's almost everything that they can do at the ER.
You never feel rushed. They're there for you and only you.
I felt like their only patient.
And it costs no more than a trip to urgent care because Dispatch Health is covered by most insurance, including Medicare. See if we serve your home at dispatchhealth.com.
Dispatch Health really went above and beyond.
It's wonderful to have care come to your home.
House calls are back, and they're better than ever. Learn more at dispatchhealth.com.
With the Kroger Plus card, it's easy to get lower than low prices, which adds up to big savings for the win. You also earn fuel points on every purchase, which means you win big at the pump. The Kroger Plus card. All you do is win. Big, big savings. Sign up now at Kroger.com and start saving. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Savings may vary by state. Fuel restrictions apply.
Get more ways to save at the Buy 5 or More Save $1 each sale. Just buy 5 or more participating items and save $1 each with card. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
Welcome back to the Reading and Writing Podcast. My guest today is Andrew Gillsmith, author of the new novel, Our Lady of the Artilects. Andrew, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Jeff. Good to be here.
Good. Well, if someone listening hasn't yet heard about your novel, Our Lady of the Artilects, how would you describe the novel?
I would say it is really an exploration of fuzzy boundaries between faith and science. It tells a story of a near future world where artilects, which are basically highly advanced androids, are having apocalyptic visions that only they can see. And so the governments of the world assume that this is a hack or a hoax of some kind until one of them, belonging to the wealthiest man in Africa, shows up at a basilica claiming to be possessed. And in response to this, the Vatican sends their top neuroscientist, also an exorcist, to interview this android, this artilect, and he quickly finds himself drawn into a global conspiracy, possibly a supernatural conspiracy.
That's great. And I'm curious, do you remember the original idea or impetus that led you to write Our Lady of the Artilects?
You know, I've always been interested in, and as I said, this kind of fuzzy boundary between faith and science. I mean, it's part of my story, right? I mean, I grew up in a fairly conservative, religious, evangelical household. My mom passed away when I was in my mid to late teens, and I went through a long period of rebellion and anger, really towards God, and ended up majoring in religion in college, and then studying it for many years thereafter. I also then got a master's degree in data science. I went to a master's program in data science, and eventually kind of found my way back to faith. But I certainly never given up my scientific worldview either. And so I really wanted to play with those boundaries to an extent. I think that was the main motivation for writing the book.
That's great. And what was your writing journey that led you to writing your first stories and novel?
Well, this is my first novel.
Mm-hmm.
It's also my first, really substantial creative writing project. I certainly started climbing the mountain before I knew how tall it would be. And that's probably a good thing, because I don't know if I would have had the gumption to do this if I'd known how difficult it would be. Because this is like an idea space that has been so interesting to me my whole life, and that I've played around in my whole life. I tell people I've been researching the book for 30 years. I wrote it in 6 months, right? I sat down in October of 2021 and just started putting together, the characters and the outline for the book. And it came out very, very fast, right? The actual writing of it. Don't know if that's how it's going to be for the sequel or not.
Have you started working on the sequel yet?
I've started it. Yeah, I've started it. I'm still kind of deep in the research. I like to, when I was thinking about Our Lady of the Artilects, I really wanted it to be two things. I wanted it to be what I would call hard theology, meaning I did not want it to be sort of wishy-washy, made up, with regard to the main religions that are depicted in it, which are Catholicism and Islam. And I also wanted it to be hard science, right? I didn't want to do a lot of hand waving or, sort of magic, with respect to the science. And I hope I accomplished that in this book. In the second book, to me, it feels like it's going to go more in the direction of hard science fiction, just because that seems to be how the first book set up. So I'm doing a lot of reading on, quantum mechanics, David Bohm's theories on consciousness and the implicate order, and then also getting into getting as deep as I can into Sufi mysticism.
Well, you mentioned earlier of writing Our Lady of the Artilects, your first novel, and that you wrote it in 6 months. What was that writing process like for you? Had you written an extensive outline, or did you just think about it and dive into the narrative? How did that work?
Total pantser. I was a total pantser. And again, I think that that's probably the way that I have to write, because, I like to think about, what are the characters really going to do? Like, I don't necessarily know how they're going to react in every situation that I put them in, right? And so the narrative of the story really grew organically, and I did not have an outline. When you get to a sequel, though, you got all of these sort of fixed elements in place, right? You've got characters that are now developed. You've got kind of a world or a magic or a science system, if you want to call it that needs to be respected. So what I'm finding in the second book is I think I'm going to have to be a little bit more of a planner.
Sure. And your first job out of college was delivering mail for Jeff Bezos when he was still selling books via listserv. What was that job like, and how did you get it?
Oh, that was wild. So coming out of college, I actually wanted to be a writer. And so I'd applied to a bunch of jobs in New York, and I had an offer to work for the Village Voice. But the offer was like, it was, when I say the money was bad, it was like, I don't know how you can live in New York on that kind of bad, right?
I had one of those jobs in New York.
You know how great your house looks and smells when it's just been cleaned? So fresh. And somehow, a clean house makes your head feel fresher too. With a housekeeper from Care, you can reset your house and your head as often as you like for less than you think. Find a great housekeeper, set a schedule that works for you, and check cleaning off your to-do list so you can put your mind to other, more fun things. Get the housekeeping help you need at care.com.
Tired of long waits and rushed care at the ER and urgent care clinic? Next time, stay home and let Dispatch Health bring the power of the hospital to you.
I call Dispatch Health. A care team of medical professionals actually come to your house.
They're the same caliber of people that you would see if you were at a hospital or an urgent care.
Dispatch Health can treat most non-life-threatening emergencies.
They can do the x-rays, they can do stitches,
urinary tract infections, blood test, urinalysis, ultrasound.
It's almost everything that they can do at the ER.
You never feel rushed. They're there for you and only you.
I felt like their only patient.
And it costs no more than a trip to urgent care because Dispatch Health is covered by most insurance, including Medicare. See if we serve your home at dispatchhealth.com.
Dispatch Health really went above and beyond.
It's wonderful to have care come to your home.
House calls are back, and they're better than ever. Learn more at dispatchhealth.com.
Yeah.
Not for the Village Voice, but it was like, how am I surviving?
Yeah. But I was going to take it. I was like really, really excited I was going to take it. And then I got this like random weird call from an investment bank or a hedge fund. and they wanted me to interview because I like won some academic award in college. And I was like, okay, that's fine. It's a free trip to New York, so I'll go do it. And I met with them. And, it turned out that they kind of hired on two tracks. They hired like literally some of the most brilliant scientific and technical minds in the world, like top graduates from the Indian Institute of Technology, winners of the International Math Olympiad. And these are the people that are like writing the algorithms and the trading programs. But then they also hired people with more of like a liberal arts background, to essentially do like the go-to-market side of the business. And I ended up getting an offer to work for this company. And they started all of us on that kind of liberal arts side of the equation in the mailroom. And so I'm like delivering mail to these bankers. And, the idea is you kind of circulate, you get to know people, and eventually you kind of find your spot at the company. One of them was this quirky senior vice president. Nobody really knew what he did. You'd go into his office, he'd have books like piled up to the ceiling. And I finally got the courage one day to ask him what he was doing. He said, I'm just trying to figure out how to sell these books on the internet. And I laughed. I was like, well, that's a terrible idea. This is like 1995. Like people weren't even putting their credit cards online, right? And of all the things that you would sell, like books. And he said, well, I love books. And I asked him how he was doing. He said, well, I'm buying email lists and I'm emailing people, and then they call me back, and then I take their credit card number and I write, and, he had like one of those old credit card machines,
Yep.
The mechanical desktop devices. And that's how he was selling books in the early days. It wasn't too long after that. It was maybe 6 months or so after that he picked up and moved to Seattle, pulled a bunch of people with him, started the Amazon.
Did you stay in touch with him?
Gone with it, and I'd be living on a private island somewhere.
Yeah, sure. Did you stay in touch with him?
Oh no.
Yeah.
No, I was a kid who was delivering his mail.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And now he's buying yachts.
Yeah, among yachts, newspapers.
Yeah, it's crazy. So
yeah, and he gives hands on.
So given your experience with Our Lady of the Artilects, and now thinking about and planning the sequel, what writing advice would you offer for those who are working on their own stories or novels?
Oh, that's a great question. Part of me wants to say I don't know if I feel qualified to give writing advice to others as a first time novelist. For me, I can say what's worked for me.
Sure. What worked for you
is, just to write about things that I know and that I'm passionate about. If you don't know your material, if you haven't done your homework, haven't done your research, if you don't, passionately care about the themes in the work or the characters in the work, then I think it's unreasonable to expect anyone else to care. But the other thing I would say, and again, this is all like so cliche, Jeff, like, hope it makes for an interesting podcast. I don't know. Is you just, you do have to have the discipline to just sit down and do it. For 15 to 20 years, I told myself, I'm going to write a book. I really need to sit down and write this book. These ideas have been bouncing around in my head for long. I think I'm going to do it. And I would always find, a distraction or something else to do, or, something in my job that prevented me from, starting. And it wasn't until, like I said, October of last year that I've kind of forced myself to sit in front of a blank screen and just start putting words on a page that it all came together.
That's great. Well, what books have you read recently that you enjoyed?
So most of what I actually read mainly nonfiction.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been doing a lot of research for the next book. I just read a book by Professor Chick from SUNY University in New York on the cosmology of Ibn al-Arabi, who is probably the greatest Sufi mystic of all time. It's called The Self-Disclosure of God. And while I was reading that, I was also reading David Bohm's Wholeness in the Anglican Order, and a book by Robert Lanza called The Grand Biocentric Theory, which is really kind of about the whole anthropic principle in physics, in quantum physics, that like life is the universe, the cosmos is essentially perfectly calibrated for consciousness. And some physicists like John Wheeler, right, who did a lot of the early research into black holes and work on the Manhattan Project, have gone so far as to say that that the universe is consciousness, that it's made of information. And what's really fascinating to me again is Ibn Arabi was writing about this stuff 800 years ago.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's, he didn't have the technical terminology, obviously, right? But I mean, there are really strong parallels between, his mystical visionary experiences and what I think some of the best minds in modern physics have discovered.
That's great. Well, where can people find you online if they'd like to learn more about you and your novel?
Sure. I'm on Twitter, and I'm pretty active on Twitter at Andrew Gillsmith. I'm always on Goodreads, and love to interact with people there. I'm on Facebook, and I have a website, which is andrewgillsmith.com.
That's great. Well, again, we've been speaking with Andrew Gillsmith, author of the novel Our Lady of the Artilects. The novel is on sale now, so go buy a copy. And Andrew, thanks for doing this interview.
Oh, thanks, Jeff. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
Tired of long waits and rushed care at the ER and urgent care clinic? Next time, stay home and let Dispatch Health bring the power of the hospital to you.
I call Dispatch Health. A care team of medical professionals actually come to your house.
They're the same caliber of people that you would see if you were at a hospital or an urgent care.
Dispatch Health can treat most non-life-threatening emergencies.
They can do the x-rays, they can do stitches.
Urinary tract infections, blood test, urinalysis, ultrasound.
It's almost everything that they can do at the ER.
You never feel rushed. They're there for you and only you.
I felt like their only patient.
And it costs no more than a trip to urgent care because Dispatch Health is covered by most insurance, including Medicare. See if we serve your home at dispatchhealth.com.
Dispatch Health really went above and beyond.
It's wonderful to have care come to your home.
House calls are back, and they're better than ever. Learn more at dispatchhealth.com.